If you're running a sales team right now, then you already know that something feels off. Your team is sending more emails than ever, making more calls than ever, and running more sequences. And somehow it's converting less than it did 5 years ago. Here's the data to back that up. The amount of outbound touchpoints to generate a single meeting has gone up 5x in the last 5 years. Less than 45% of reps hit quota in Q3 2025, and only 16% of marketers say that outbound provides the highest quality leads for sales. Don't worry, this isn't a you problem. The model is broken. And before you say it, no, AI and automation are not the fix, they're actually part of the problem. When everyone has access to the same tools to send more messages faster, all you're dealing with is a noisier market. That means more activity and less effectiveness. The teams that are winning right now aren't the ones doing more outbound. They're the ones prospecting differently through their network instead of against the market. And they have the data infrastructure to back it up. Today, I'm going to show you how to make that shift. Here's the core issue with how many sales teams are still operating. They're treating their lead list like everyone on that list is ready to buy. But at any given time, only 3 to 10% of your buyers are actually in market, and the other 90% won't be in a buying position for months or even years. And here's the real kicker, 41% of buyers already have a preferred vendor in mind before the formal selection process actually begins. So if you're not already in that conversation, you're likely not even being considered. So what happens when you blast the whole list? You spend the majority of your activity on people who aren't ready, who view your outreach as a nuisance, and who are now actually less likely to respond when they actually are ready. Your shift is this: stop treating prospecting like a volume game and start focusing on the relationships. Your job isn't just to find the 10% who are ready right now, it's to pull the other 90% into your sphere of influence. That's so that when they are ready to buy, you become the first name that they think of. And that's network first prospecting. And before we get into how, let's get clear on why. According to the 2026 Warm Intro Gap report from Comscore, 82.4% of sellers say that deals that come from warm intros close faster than deals that come from other channels. And warm intros result in meetings getting booked in just 1 to 2 touches compared to cold outreach, which typically takes at least 3 to 5 touches if there's any response at all. Think of that in the context of it taking 1,400 touch points to book one meeting. A warm intro cuts through all of that. 80% of seller conversations are buyer initiated, and the vendor that gets contacted first wins 8 out of 10 times. And the way to be that vendor isn't to blast more emails. It's to already be in that relationship when the buyer decides that they're ready to move. But here's what that same report found. 77.8% of sales leaders say that their team has a system in place in case cold outbound ever disappeared. Yet only 18% of those have a warm introduction system in place. The math doesn't add up, and the gap between intention and execution is exactly where the pipeline is leaking. And I want to be clear, network first prospecting doesn't mean that you stop doing outbound. It means that you start doing smarter outbound based on signals. Signals help you narrow your lead list down to that 10% that's searching for a solution, so you're spending your energy on the right people at the right time. And the important nuance is that a signal doesn't automatically mean someone is ready to buy. Here's how you can think about it by stage. If someone is unaware of the problem that they have, or if they visited your website homepage for the first time, engaged with your social content, or stopped by your conference booth, your CTA at this stage might be something like, here's a recent industry report on how this problem is affecting teams like yours. You're just giving them pure value, there's no ask. If they're aware of the problem but they're not looking to solve it yet, maybe they've visited the informational pages on your website or they have engaged with your content multiple times, your CTA might be something like, here's a short video to help you figure out if this problem is affecting your organization. Still, again, no pitch here. If they know it's a problem but it's a lower priority, maybe they visited your pricing page or they completed a product tour or they attended a webinar of yours. Now you can be a little bit more direct and you can say, would it be helpful if I sent over a video walking through a specific workflow? Happy to chat if that would be useful. If they're actively evaluating solutions, they're in your product, they're asking specific questions, they're reading your technical documentation, this is where you can just ask for that demo. Would it make sense to hop on a call? The point is matching your outreach to where somebody actually is and not just where you want them to be. So how do you actually build the 90% into your pipeline over time? Well, there's 3 steps. One is community engagement, and it doesn't mean you have to run a massive Slack group, a mentorship program, curated one-to-one connections, or even a small dinner series. Get your buyer into spaces where they're getting value just being around your company before a sales conversation ever comes up. Step 2, create content. 75% of B2B buyers use social media to make purchasing decisions. Creating content, even just posting consistently and thoughtfully on LinkedIn, establishes credibility before you ever show up in someone's inbox. And engage back. Comment on what your prospects are posting about. Be a real person on their feed instead of just a name in the sequence. And 3, connect authentically. 84% of buyers expect sales reps to act as trusted advisors. That expectation starts long before a deal is on the table. Find where your buyers are, like in industry communities, LinkedIn groups, or events, and show up there consistently with something useful to say. Here's where most teams hit a wall with network-first prospecting. They buy into the philosophy. They want to prospect through warm paths rather than just focusing on pure cold volume. But they don't actually know what warm paths exist into their target accounts. Who on your team went to school with the VP that you've been trying to reach? Which of your customers has a relationship with the decision maker at your top target account? Which investor in your network has a strong connection to the company that you've been circling for 6 months? Without the right tools, you would never know. You would keep defaulting to cold because warm feels impossible to scale. That's exactly where the Swarm comes in as a relationship data layer. It connects to the tools that your growth and RevOps teams are already using. Clay, your CRM, Claude, and it adds relationship intelligence on top of what you already have. It takes your team's entire network from former colleagues, alumni connections, investor overlaps, customer relationships, and surfaces every viable warm path into your target accounts ranked by relationship strength. So your team isn't guessing which paths exist. Your sales leader isn't sending their team into accounts blind. And your best sellers have relationship context layered on top of everything else. That's when network-first prospecting stops being a philosophy and starts being a strategy that your whole team can actually run. Let me leave you with this. If you're a founder or a sales leader, this is a top-down conversation. The teams getting the most out of network-first prospecting aren't waiting on a seller to discover it on their own. They're building it into the infrastructure that their growth and RevOps people run. If you're a seller on a team that isn't doing this yet, the best teams in your space already have relationship data built into their stack. It's worth having a conversation with your leadership to see if your team has the right infrastructure in place to compete. And if you're an early stage founder building your GTM from scratch, this is the moment to build it right. The teams that win in the next 5 years aren't going to be the ones that sent the most emails. They're going to be the ones that built the best network and have the data to activate it. The model that's been broken for 5 years isn't going to fix itself with volume. If you want to see how the Swarm helps you build this into a real workflow, the link is going to be down below. Subscribe if this was useful, and I'll see you in the next one.